It has hands. It handles things. That's hitting me worse than anything else. What the ever-loving spit. I can't argue the impressive stature of the thing, and it's stubborn, like the most entitled charger. It knows how strong it is, and it knows you know. I expected the dull snuffling of its small cousins, but this... It has hands, and spirited eyes. Mind where you secure the buckles of the saddle. I expect it'll let you know when it tires of suffering you on its back. Not that it tires. Hands. Hands. Greetings once again, my dear students, and welcome to another lesson of Dragon Age, the Flora and Fauna of Thedas, with me, Professor Absalom. Since I covered the Nug in a previous lesson, I thought it only fitting to have today's lesson be about the Nug's larger cousin, the Nuggalope. So, without further ado, let's get started with today's lesson. The actual existence of these creatures have been refuted for the longest time in Thedosian history. The dwarves, to a larger extent, and the surface world, to a lesser, have been aware of the existence of Nugs since time immemorial. The existence of Nuggalopes, however, have largely been considered a myth up until modern times, even if references to the creature historically can be traced back to before the Divine Age. And one cannot really blame the skeptically minded in this, for the existence of a giant Nug, as big as a horse sporting horns and giant hands, is truly something that sounds made up. Purported sightings of the animal were almost always disregarded with reasoning that the person in question who had seen the fabled Nuggalope was either stark raving mad or incredibly drunk, and the few instances where convincing evidence were said to have been found would always turn out to be made-up hoaxes, created to either generate fame or twisted amusement for the hoaxer. Considering this, the world would be in for quite a surprise when the Nuggalopes were finally proven to be real in modern times, and the actual facts behind the myths were finally revealed. At the size of a horse, with a muscle-bound broad body, large ears, 2 sets of horns, and hand-like front paws, the Nuggalope is a very reclusive creature. Living far away from civilized society, the most common environment for Nuggalopes to live in seems to be larger hills and mountain ranges, where they can stay far away from the other races of Thedas. Primarily encountered in southern Thedas, mainly Ferelden, and the area around the Frostback Mountains, the Nuggalopes can be tamed and even ridden despite their reclusive nature. Though being able to ride a Nuggalope is a feat that only a handful of Thedosians have ever managed to accomplish. When it is time for Nuggalope rutting, it is said that the sound of the activity is like the sound of distant thunder. One of, if not the most striking feature of the Nuggalope, and a source of constant debate and research among scholars, are the hands of the Nuggalope. Like the smaller Nugs, the Nuggalopes have hand-like front paws. The Nuggalopes stand much like a great ape, with the knuckles of its great forepaws in the ground. The creatures use these odd-looking hands while walking and running, but also when it feeds, for example, reaching up and grabbing tree branches and eating the leaves. Nuggalopes are also known to use their hands to dunk the food that it plans to eat in water before consuming it. And while it is exceedingly rare to find a Nuggalope in the wild, given their elusive nature, their quite agile digits and hands lead some scholars to hypothesize that the Nuggalopes might even be capable and intelligent enough to use basic tools when searching for food. An example of this might be to use sticks and branches to stick into mounds and trees to lure out tasty insects. Coloration and appearance seems to vary depending on the different species of Nuggalopes that exist in the wild. The most common variant of the animal seems to be the Greater Mountain Nuggalope, also known as Death Nug. Hardy and stubborn, They are of a grey colour, with some having darker stripes on their backs. Besides the Death Nug, there are 5 additional Nuggalope variations that we know of. There is the Gwaran Landhammer, that bears a slight purple coloration, the cream-coloured Knuckled Thunderer, the powerful Tiddles Majoris, sharing the same colour as a storied Regent's Lapnug, which has tainted its reputation ever since the species' discovery, and has given rise to its quite silly name. The last 2 species are interestingly enough connected to the Avar people. The clans of the Avars, native to the Frostback Mountains, have seemingly been in contact with these animals long enough to tame and train some of these Nuggalopes to be war mounts. This raises even more questions as to how long the Avars have been aware of the Nuggalope's existence, as opposed to the rest of Thedas, but that has to be a topic for another time. Not only have Avars somehow managed to harness and train one species of Nuggalope for battle, but 2 of them. The first being the Battle Nug, and the second, the Avar War Nug, often painted in traditional Avar war paint, this breed in particular being, quote, famed for its ability to strike fear into those unfortunate enough to face them in battle. Now that you are familiar with both the smaller Nugs and their larger cousins, the Nuggalopes, the latter being fascinating if elusive creatures, I think we will end today's short lesson here. Thank you very much for joining me. I have been Professor Absalom, and I will see you all in the next lesson. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoy the content, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and check out the other videos on the channel. More interesting lore videos will be coming in the future, so keep an eye out. Thank you once again, and until next time, have a good one.